It was back in 1989 that he began his political career after the sudden departure of his late father, Moses Mudavadi, formerly in cabinet as well. Musalia was only 28 years old.
I went in with an open mind, and I went in fully aware that the best approach is to be a good listener, to be prepared to listen to technical expertise, to be prepared to listen to advice, to be prepared to listen and consult with even members of the private sector and key sectors of the economy.
How do we get to know the difference between a good political strategy and agenda-driven politics? How do we trust that he is not just after consolidating power? What is at the heart of his policy and promise?
When you enter into the politics, it's not just about acquiring the power or just a question of being in authority. I think what we need to be able to bring out to all people is that you must be able to trust each other. With progressive politics, you can transform a nation. With negative politics, you can completely destroy a nation.
What is the new economic agenda that will not only show GDP growth on paper, but translate into deliverables geared towards the poor?
In reality, the question that comes to everybody's mind is that we should not measure our economic progress purely by sheer economic indicators. I think it is important that we put a lot of emphasis also on some of the social indicators. And these will be accessibility to education, accessibility to health, accessibility to maybe the capacity to put food on the table. Now, the other aspect of importance within the economy is to ensure that infrastructure, and here I'm talking of the road network, I'm talking of communication in terms of ICT, I'm talking in terms of power supply. These are very, very significant aspects of our infrastructure, which we would have to find a way of fast tracking.
What better example of an enabling infrastructure than this one in his own constituency? The Sabatia Eye Hospital was a personal initiative of Musalia's Healthy International Friendships as the then local MP. The unit's standards today will easily match other leading private hospitals elsewhere in the country.
How it started by a strong collaboration between CBM, Christopher Blanden Mission, an international donor organization based in Germany, in collaboration with the then local MP and Vice President, Mr. Musalia Mudavadi, who has been very instrumental in initiating the eye hospital.
As the third largest eye hospital in Kenya, this unit serves more than 3 provinces and targets underserved areas where the country's poorest communities live. But the poverty alleviation priority is no easy feat. The greater fact is that we need a president who understands how to provide an enabling environment to achieve the enormous poverty reduction goals. But what about the challenges that have bedeviled the nation's opportunities to free itself of poverty?
Kenya has been the largest economy in East Africa, and it still is. And we would be providing a very substantive opportunity for our exports to be more acceptable within the region. And if I got the opportunity to serve this country, I would tell you that we should not, as Kenya, pretend to be an island. We must be able to recognize the pace at which globalization has taken place. And therefore we must prepare ourselves even more appropriately than we are prepared, than we are today, to be able to fit into the international community in every sense of the word.
Granted that Kenya needs a major economic surgery, are we in need of an economist like the incumbent, or someone more in touch with the dynamic realities of the people's needs?
I believe I'd be the kind of president who is prepared to serve the people. A president who will respect the rule of law, a president who will be pragmatic, a president who will be very candid and honest with his people, a president who will be prepared to acknowledge mistakes where they have been made. Basically, I'd like to be a president who brings out the fact that a president in any country is really a human being.
Trust, unity, a human president, serving, not lording over the people. These are the things we like to hear. But after all the work that goes into getting to the top, saying all these right things doesn't make you stay at the top. What then must we Kenyans expect and even demand to ensure economic gains reach you and I?
One of the interesting things I've found about government retrenchment programs, as we have known them to be, you know, where somebody gets the golden handshake and he goes. By and large, this has been a situation where you're telling a man who is due for retirement, maybe he's 55 or something close to it, he's going for retirement, and then you tell him, go and be an entrepreneur. Here is the money, go and start your business. Let me tell you how we cannot afford to have programs that are bringing, trying to create entrepreneurs at their retirement. We must start focusing on how do you start doing it at the very early age.
Golden handshakes, entrepreneurship, gender and youth empowerment are all mildly frustrating terminologies to Musalia's vocabulary. Past regimes have so loosely used them to make empty promises. The ongoing free primary education, soon free secondary and higher education, the subsequent talk for free healthcare and even more generally assumes that the country's resources are limitless. The economic bubble will eventually burst, and free will cost us everything.
Our long-term objective is to create a society where the majority of the Kenyans, and indeed all Kenyans, have the capacity to pay for the services and goods that they need. That, to me, is the more significant objective that we should be targeting. Let me tell you, there is no dignity in being poor. And there is no dignity in knowing that what you are accessing is a free commodity.
A dignified life by empowering the disadvantaged is where the real power lies to alleviate the nation's burden of poverty. At the heart of his strategy of social support structures, Musalia has dug his teeth deep into matters of national appeal, like issues that stun the controversial constitutional debate, where affirmative action, job creation and youth programs take top priority.
By and large, I'm somebody who believes in merit. And merit, whether you're a man or woman, should be the guiding principle in determining what role you play in our society. So it is important, just the way we had advocated within the context of the Bomas draft, that we think seriously about having affirmative action to allow our women to feel more encouraged to come forward and take up some of the challenges that we all face as a nation.
With a more favorable constitution in place, what's his strategy to attract investment for national development in dealing with corruption and insecurity?
Corruption must be dealt with forcefully, decisively. We should revisit the laws that have created some of our own institutions, like the Anti-Corruption Commission, our own judiciary, public institutions like the CID or the police, and their capacity and ability to fight aspects of corruption. We should also go on a massive awareness campaign from the very basic level, in fact from the school level, because as economies grow, as economies become more dynamic and sophisticated, then the aspects of what is defined as corruption and so forth tends to also change in one way or the other. Insecurity has become a matter of grave concern in this country. The internationally recognized situation is that you should have about one policeman for 450 citizens. In this country, you have one policeman for more than 1,200 citizens. In my view, the strategy would be fund the police or the security agencies effectively. Make sure those resources are spread appropriately throughout the Republic. Have improved or enhanced training programs for our people, and then revisit programs of aspects like community policing.
As the only non-sitting member of parliament competing for the nation's top job, this loyal man, who they say is felt wherever he goes, is his own man. Principled from a very early age, he believes in progressive politics. This is his deliberate agenda on poverty and economic measures that will restore dignity to the Kenyan people.
I have what it takes. I have served as a minister for supplies and marketing, for finance, for agriculture, minister for transport and communications, and indeed even as a vice president and as a leader of government business. I have interacted with key international entities like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, the European Union, the African Development Bank. And to me, all these are very, very important milestones in one's portfolio or career.
Holding a bachelor's degree in land economics with honors from the University of Nairobi, Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi has been the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya and leader of government business in Parliament. His outstanding achievements while serving in various cabinet positions earned him the respect of a leader, even though still very youthful. In the Ministry of Transport and Communications, he regularized the licensing processes and registry of motor vehicles. At the Ministry of Information and Transport and Communications, he liberalized the communications sector and established systems of modernization in broadcasting, aviation, railways and ports. While serving as Minister for Agriculture, he liberalized the coffee and tea sectors, negotiating better trading terms with international partners and restored confidence in the agro industries. As Minister for Finance, Musalia stuck his neck out as the first senior official to face off with high-level corruption, initiating the end of the scandalous Goldenberg and fraud within the central bank. It was he who led the restoration of the stalled bilateral talks with development partners and returned multilateral aid to Kenya. He slowed inflation rate from 50% to below 9% and reversed the negative economic growth. He established the Revenue Authority and the autonomy of Central Bank. To his credit, the country's former vice president has put to good use all his influences that he could have gained and has left a solid mark in his Sabatia constituency, a legacy hard to compete with. Through his innovative economic approaches of empowering the Kenyan people to alleviate poverty, Musalia's proven track record of service in the Kenyan government has earned him the right to offer himself to serve as the next president of the Republic.
I am a firm believer in the rule of law. I am not a vindictive individual. I am somebody who will respect the rights of every citizen in this country. And that is extremely important for anybody who is aspiring to be a leader. And it's good to note that I will provide a good blend of both youth and experience, because I believe I have the advantage of having both at the same time. And therefore I can say, give me a chance to serve you.
Thanks to the favorable resources of this great land of ours, the rich heritage of the peoples, and the hand of mercies from above, if Musalia's legacy in Sabatia is anything to go by, have we then found ourselves a man to lead the way forward for this great nation? As he rightly put it, there is no dignity in being poor.